everybody. It's Stephen and Walter here for another episode of The Idiot Quilter, episode 60. And it is May the 27th, 2022. And I know this coming weekend is a long weekend for the Americans, so have a good weekend. Ours was last weekend. So let's jump right in and talk about what Walter has been working on. He has been working on a shirt, but he has nothing to show us. Why is
No,
that?
well, it's not completely finished. I was doing the hemming yesterday, and I sewed the sides up, and I still got to put buttons on and the final hem.
Oh.
But that's about it.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Walter's had a little bit of a setback this week because he got the rest of that tooth that didn't come out pulled out, and so he may sound a little mumblier today than usual with that. So, because he's on soft foods, or as I like to say, nursing home menu. Yeah. But now there's something I just found out about today. Adam Sews. I did an interview with Adam Sews a few weeks ago. He's in the UK and he has a YouTube channel, which I'm sure many of you have checked out. And if you haven't, you should. It's just called Adam Sews on YouTube. And he's running I think it might be a contest, not absolutely sure, but he's trying to show that he's a little disgusted with the patterns that are out there for men's shirts. For sewing, because he's saying a lot of them come from like the 1950s kind of a deal. So in other words, boring. And he wants to show that there are other things available for men or for people who want to sew for men out there. So he's asked people to send pictures of their sewing creations that are male oriented, like shirts, pants, I suppose, shorts. And he's going to, I think, feature them on his YouTube channel at the end of June or into the 1st of July. And I don't know if there's a prize or something, but whatever. And I said to Walter, well, here's the information. I really think we should take some pictures of your shirts and maybe some of your pants and your jackets as well. And we'll send those off onto Instagram.
Yeah, maybe I should include also what patterns I used for those.
That's probably be helpful with it as well. I don't like the platform of Instagram for this kind of thing, but that's what he's asked for, so whatever. I guess I'm a little out of it when it comes to Instagram. All the kids are using it now, kind of a deal. I find it just kind of an annoying platform to put anything up because you can't find anything afterwards with it. But anyway, so yeah, send comments to encourage Walter to do this because he has to do it. Because I think he got it in the bag myself. And speaking of bags, so, we told you last week as Stephen and Walter Live and that about the fact that we had microburst here and it, wrecked a few roofs on some of the houses around us. We were fine and whatnot. Well, while we were outside cleaning up branches from the trees with the neighbors kind of asked us. They were a little sheepish about asking. They didn't have to be. But anyways, they were asking about, could they commission Walter, well, he said us, but when they said us, I meant Walter, to make some Christmas tote bags for them, even though it's May, I guess getting in their order in advance, because I guess a lot of people, we gave them one a couple of Christmases ago, I guess, with some things we'd made for them. We didn't give them one last year, bag?
No, we didn't. I
didn't get around to that. Yeah, kind of like your shirts. So anyways, we said, sure, no problem. Like they said they'd pay us and stuff like that. We don't want to take money for it. And, because basically you make bags out of, like, we have tons and tons of fabric.
I like doing it.
So. And Walter likes doing it too. And of course, these bags will be embroidered on the front of them with something Christmassy and that kind of bit. So I haven't made a tote bag in a while. I should really try.
The ones I were making were fairly elaborate. So,
yeah, I know. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why I'm leaving it to you. So they didn't really say how many they wanted.
Oh, I'll ask her at one point.
Yeah, well, you got to get on with that.
And
because
I'll ask her about whether she wants specifically Christmas ones or something else.
Yeah, because, Christmas isn't that far away. No. Not when it comes to making things, okay? And these things take time. And Walter's not the speediest maker on the face of the planet. I mean, I know some of you would say it's because he wants it to be perfect.
No, I tend to have to get into my mojo into sewing, and I go in short spurts.
Yeah, which means
not like you that I have to be doing it at 24/7. So
because you've got other important things to do, like prowl on the internet. So
I like researching information
Yes.
on the internet.
And he did find some interesting research today we're going to share with you in a few minutes here. But before we do that, so that's it. And isn't there a new class on the horizon?
Yeah, actually, it's not a class that I really want to take, but I thought I should take it just to get the technique. And Brendan, or my sewing group, is going to do a pair of shorts that are linen, that are lined. Lined, and I haven't done lined shorts, so I think
linen.
Yeah.
Who wears linen shorts anymore?
I don't know, but he does. He does. You have to know Brendan.
Anyway, I am sure they probably will be very nice, but
anyway, so I'm gonna do those just to get some practice. I mean, I may make them and think, no, they're lousy, I'm not gonna make them again. But because I did make a linen shirt last year, and I don't wear it because I don't like it.
Well, linen wrinkles so easily. Well,
this is actually a stretch linen, and actually I haven't washed it yet, but it looks really nice.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I like it. It's actually a very thick linen that can be used for shorts and stuff. So let's see.
So you've got the fabric then?
Yes, I do.
What color?
Sort of a in-between blue color. It might be almost a periwinkle.
Oh, well, that's this year's color.
Yeah.
How good.
It was supposed to be navy, but it looks periwinkle to me.
Well, anyways. Well, periwinkle's kind of a nice color. I kind of like periwinkle, so hint.
I think they would be actually not bad looking shorts. Yeah. So
okay, well, hint. Hint, hint, hint.
And I should probably make a couple other pairs of shorts myself.
Yes.
So
I could use some shorts.
Yeah.
New ones. I think the shorts I have on right today, I've been wearing these shorts for about 10 years. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Probably. You know what the secret is, though, to shorts, that you can have them for a long, long time? First of all, make sure they have an elastic waistband on it. It grows with you as time goes on. And I wish I was joking about that, but I really am not. So
well, I have a few elastic waistband shorts that hasn't grown far enough for me.
Oh, well, that's kind of sad too.
I might give you some of mine. They'll probably fit you better.
No, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, okay, so that's what you've been up to, I guess. Anything else?
No, not really.
Playing with your teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, I get my teeth problems and.
Okay, well, I have a few projects on the go. They're works in progress. So the first one I'm going to show you is up here. This is the second block in that with Glowing Hearts quilt, you know, the one that started my whole exploration of 1/4 inch seam allowances and the feet that are supposed to do them. And I'm going to talk more about that in a minute because I've discovered something else interesting about that. But anyways, this one I have made with my new way of sewing 1/4 inch seams, and it's working out fine. It's the right size. Yeah, it needs to be trimmed up a little bit, but don't worry about that. I don't trim up my blocks until after I've got all the blocks done, just to make sure I'm trimming them all up about the same size, because you can still have a slight variation depending on how your seams go and things like that. But that's one of the blocks. I think there's 5 blocks, and you make 2 of each of them. They're all different. And then there's some panel pieces in this fabric line that you have to cut out too that go into it as well. So I can't say I'm enjoying this one. I am not. The blocks are fairly complex. There's a lot of cutting. There's a lot of little pieces. And guess what? This pattern also does 1/8 of an inch in different things. Not as bad as the block of the month one, but still it's bad. And you have to find little tricks for cutting your blocks to the right size. And it's driving me mental. So really, I'm not enjoying putting this together, but now it's become a challenge. I will get it together someday. So that's one thing that I'm working on. And I just started this one to give me a breather from the one I hate. I've had this Cozy Quilts design for a while, Stars of Wonder. And I'm not using their fabric, obviously. And this is just one of the little blocks that go into this. These are not difficult to make, and they are not in 1/8 of an inch. They are in normal measurements, in 1/4 of an inch. half an inch, things like that. So they're going together fairly nicely. These would be the pieces you see in here. Would be, I don't know where they are when I look at this, but they're in here somewhere. Might be these ones up here that you see in the corner. I'm not making this size. I'm just making a throw. I think this is the twin size they show here. The throw is only 2 columns. And the reason I'm only doing a throw size is because of the number of little pieces that go into it. And at the time, I put this together as a kit when I took it to the retreat, and I never got to it. And at the time, I thought it'd be better if I did it just as at the retreat, a smaller one as a throw. But we'll see how that turns out. And I just got this. Stitch in the Ditch, I ordered some things from them because I had won a gift certificate from them, and so I immediately spent the gift certificate and then some. And you know how I'm into gnomes. Well, I saw they had this gnome applique pattern, but this is one that's already been laser cut and it's already pre-fused on the back. I just have to peel it and stick it. And I bought this fabric, which are kind of gnomes, a gnome for every month. And I thought this might look interesting as a background to this piece. It would just be a little door banner kind of thing when I get it done. When I get it done, I don't know when, but we'll see with it. I just thought it was kind of fun. It's one of those little projects that clears your palette, you know, after you're working on other things. This is a project. This was a free download. I actually talk about it in the upcoming Idiot Quilter episode next week about it. But I thought it was kind of interesting. Well, anything with stars attracts me, for one thing. And those are a form of a log cabin. I don't know, those courtyard steps, I think is the name of that pattern. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. I am sure of that. But I haven't picked out fabric for it. I've got a whole bunch of projects already that the fabric's cut, pre-cut for it and everything that I've done that I need to get to at some point in time. But I'm thinking this one might look really good in those fabrics that you got me at Christmas time in the box. I thought they would look probably really nice in this pattern. And it's only really 2 blocks that you're making. And these are not difficult blocks to make. So I think this comes from, I don't remember where it came from. I think I mentioned it though, and put a link to it in the show notes, but in the Idiot Quilter, not in today's show notes. So if you're interested, tune into the Idiot Quilter next week and you'll hear more about this. And okay, this is what I want to go to next. Yeah, this is the fabric I got from Quilting Apothecary. And remember last week I was talking about they had some really neat fabrics. Well, these are some of the ones that I bought. Well, these are the ones I bought. I really think they're nice. I don't know how I will use them in a quilt, but I also bought a charm pack, and I bought this charm pack because, well, they called it Aboriginal, so it is Australian. These are fabrics from Australia, or Australia-like design, and you know how much I like those fabrics. So I bought a charm pack because it was a good price, 42 5-inch squares in that. I'm not intending to necessarily put all of these fabrics together into one quilt, but I have not seen them anywhere else before. They probably do exist in other places. I don't think they're exclusive to him because he had to get them from somewhere. And when I say him, I mean Jamie Wallen. But they finally came. But of course, if you remember last week, I had to pay extra money for this, duty and brokerage fees through UPS. So I got stung for another $60 Canadian on it. Well, since then, Walter did some research and found out about UPS and some things. So do tell.
Well, actually, this sort of started maybe yesterday or a couple of days ago. I had a product that I wanted to get from the United States because it's not available in Canada. And I ordered it from this company in the United States in New York City, actually. And when I ordered it, when I went to pay for it, they had included duties and taxes on the bill. And then they shipped it via UPS, and I thought, uh-oh, I hope I don't get dinged for anything else, right? But actually, it took about 3 days to ship. I got it at my door in about 3 days. no extra costs or anything like that. So I was trying to figure out, okay, what did they do differently
And who is they? Did you say the name
of this
of the
company?
company?
The company is a photography place, and it's called
Oh,
B&H Photography in New York City. And then I looked at their shipping policies to Canada. And they said that you can have it shipped either DDU or DDP. And I think their default, depending on the price of the product, is either one or the other. Because apparently, if you get anything shipped to Canada that's less than $20 in value, then DDU is the preferred way of shipping. If it's over $20, then DDP is the preferred way of shipping. And what that means is anything that comes under $20 in value to Canada doesn't have any duties associated with it. So if it's duty free or no duties associated with it, then it doesn't go through the brokerage or anything like that, and you don't have to pay tax on it. If DDU stands for delivery duty unpaid, and DDP stands for direct duty paid. And what that means is a lot of companies ship this DDU, and what that means is that the customers that you pay for the product, and the customers have to pay duties and taxes when it arrives on their doorstep directly to whoever's shipping it.
so
Right?
basically that's what I got.
Yeah, that's what Apothecary must have done, right? And then there's a second method of shipping, which more and more companies, I guess, are getting on board with, like this camera company, and like Missouri Star, and a few other places that we have. And this is this direct duty paid. And what that means is that the company charges you duty and taxes at the time of checkout, and they have the shipping arrangement with the proper forms are filled out with whoever's doing the shipping, and it comes across the border with duties already paid, and the customer doesn't have to do anything else. But I guess the catch is that with direct duty unpaid, then the company that's doing the shipping also has to go through a brokerage to collect the duties from the customer at the time that it gets delivered. So that's where you get you both have to pay duties plus a brokerage fee, and it doesn't really matter who's shipping it. You have to do that, right? I guess when you're doing it through USPS or whatever, the shipping company becomes Canada Post, so you have to pay Canada Post, right? But anyway, with Canada Post, there isn't like any kind of brokerage fee that I can tell, right? But anyway, so but with a shipping company like FedEx or UPS or some other company, if they do it through DDU, the customer has to pay at the door their duties and taxes plus a brokerage fee. And that's what you ended up having to do. There's this DDP, which is direct duty paid. Then the company that's selling you the product charges you the duties and the duties up front that are associated with it in the correct provincial area or whatever it's shipped to, and then they also have to pay the company that's shipping it also has to pay a processing fee for that for this service, right? So it's a little bit more expensive than sending a DDU, right? Where they collect the thing, but they said it's 3 to 4 times cheaper than having to go through the brokerage, right? So
because you're not having to pay brokerage fee,
right? You're not having to pay brokerage fee. So what happens is then either the shipping company absorbs that cost, or they add it to the price of their shipping. Right. They ship it to Canada, right? So they may add $10 or whatever the fee is, I'm guessing, right? To what it costs to ship to Canada, and then charge you the duty and taxes up front. And then that way it's more streamlined for the customer in Canada to receive the package, because then they don't have to get an additional cost of duties and taxes and brokerage.
In other words, you're not getting a surprise.
You're not getting a surprise. And what these companies are saying is that if you're shipping to Canada, this is the preferred method of shipping, right? For sellers, because what could happen is, in your case, when you go to accept the package, you may look at it and say, well, I'm not going to take this package because it's going to cost me too much. And so you could refuse payment, and then it would have to be returned to the seller. And the seller would end up having to pick up the money to return the package.
Right. And at the same time, you'd probably be fighting with the seller to get a refund.
Right.
Because you did not know that this was going to.
Yeah.
So it looks like to me that it would be good for the seller of a product to look into this to avoid the hassle that somebody refuses to pay for when it comes to the door and sends it back, and they have to go through all of that.
So I'll just briefly read this. It says, sending shipments DDU may appear cheaper at checkout as there are no processing fees that are added on top of the duty that needs to be paid. However, it would be the seller's responsibility to communicate to the customer that duties will apply when the shipment arrives in customs. It is very common for customers to be unaware that duties even need to be paid. When they receive the call from the customs requesting payment, many times it's an unwanted surprise that can negatively impact your customer experience. This is where it can get very expensive, as brokerage, storage, late payment fees may apply, as all brokers are independent and each charge a different fee structure. It's impossible to tell the customer what the final amount will be at the time of sale. With DDP, shipments are a little more expensive up front because express couriers will process the payment to customs on your behalf, but for an additional fee. Still, these fees are fixed and can be 3 to 4 times cheaper than DDU brokerage fees. Some can also charge disbursement fees, for which is a percentage of the amount of the duty that they will advance on your behalf. Paying these additional fees up front to your courier, this is from a standpoint of the seller, ensures that your shipment will clear customs and get delivered, and customs wouldn't have to contact your customer directly to collect additional fees. DDP shipments will also reduce the chances of your customers abandoning the shipment in customs, which would be far worse for you, as you will not only lose product and sale, you'd have to pay additional fees if you want the shipment returned to you. In our view, DDP is a better option for the seller.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
And it does. And if we had ordered something and it's direct duty paid, and we get it, we don't have any additional fees, we know what the costs are up front, then we might purchase again from that seller.
Yeah.
Right? From us, from a customer point of view, because we know up front what we have to pay.
Yeah.
Right. So and actually, what prompted me to look up this information was I got an email from I have an account on UPS, and I got an email from UPS that they're having a seminar on June 9th.
Oh, I got that too.
Online that discusses the differences between DDP and DDU. So obviously UPS is trying to be proactive.
Well, obviously there's been a lot of complaints then to UPS about their methods. So yeah, they're trying to be, well, I don't know if it's proactive. I would say it's reactive, but whatever it is, retailers in the States need to know this information.
And I think more and more businesses are getting on board with this, because Missouri Star does it now for Canadian customers, because at Christmas time I had ordered some stuff from Missouri Star and it was delivered to me and I didn't have to pay anything extra. I ordered this thing from this camera company, and I got it delivered, no extra fees. I've ordered other things from like Mood Fabrics and from other companies in the U.S., and I haven't had to pay any extra brokerage fees or anything like that. So I think it's in a business's best interest,
when
they're shipping to Canada, to investigate this method of shipping.
And you know, if I see the price on something that I was ordering from, like say from Quilting Apothecary, I really like their fabrics. I really wanted those fabrics. But if I had known that I was going to have to pay $60 more, I would have thought twice about it. I mean, I like them. I don't like them that much.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I looked at their prices and I knew that they were covering all this other stuff in there, and even though their price might have been a little bit more for it all, I would then I can make the decision based on that if I'm going to deal with them or not. I'm not making the decision, and it creates a bad customer relationship with it, because you figure as a customer that they're taking me for a ride.
So if you're in Canada,
you keep talking.
If you're in Canada, it is in your best interest to look at, when you're purchasing a product online, right? When you're purchasing a product online, to check how they're shipping it to you. If they're charging you taxes up front, is actually a really good option for you. If they're not charging your taxes up front, you should reconsider your order if it's worthwhile or not.
It's here! It's here! Yay! Speaking of UPS, it was delivered by UPS. This is my new computer, my new Mac.
And speaking of, I think Apple uses that as well, because Apple doesn't charge any import fees for the delivery of their packages.
Yeah. So, I hope that Jamie sees this message from UPS and takes advantage of going on there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he knew about this already and he chose not to do that. If that was the case, then I don't have any. Well, I'll just put it out there. I wouldn't deal with them then.
Well, because I think the sellers are probably not aware that they'll say direct duty unpaid. They just figure, okay, the customers can take care of that. We don't have to pay that, right? And that this direct duty paid is a little bit more expensive for them, but they don't realize that the small expense that they have to pay extra means a great big savings to the customer that's receiving the package. Not only that, the package clears customs much faster than it does when we have to pay when it's unpaid taxes. So, because if it goes unpaid taxes, we can wait a week, 2 weeks for the package.
So really, doing it that way is a win-win for both the seller and the customer.
Right.
It creates, yes, it might be a little bit more expensive for the customer, for the Canadian customer.
No, it's a little bit more expensive for the seller.
Well, right? But okay, it's a little bit more expensive for the seller, but what I mean is the price that they put is going to be a little bit more than, say, if you're in the United States or something and could get it delivered to you.
Yeah, and there's nothing that says that the seller can't push an added fee to the customer by saying that there's like I don't know what they would call it, but an additional international shipping fee or something like that.
A lot of them do that now. Yeah. A lot of them say if it's an international order, this is what's going to cost you for your shipping.
Right.
And I am sure, like a place like Missouri Star Quilt or whatever, they have worked that into their shipping price. But the point is, up front, the bottom line. So now you can make an educated decision as to whether or not you want to deal with that particular retailer, because you know exactly how much it's going to cost. Whereas I did not. I dropped $160 Canadian on what you saw for the fabrics that I bought from Quilting Apothecary. And then, bang, I get an email saying I got to pay another $60 for it. Well,
yeah, so you can see you saw the how much fabric was there. That basically cost you
over $220 Canadian. Yeah. And this is yardage, not meterage, and there are 2 yards of each, so there's 8 yards of fabric in here plus the charm pack. So that's a lot. Okay, if I could have gotten this fabric, say at Ultimate Sewing, now mind you, Ultimate Sewing, it has cheaper prices, but they charge about $15 a meter on average. So that would be, what's 8 times 15? 100 and 8 times 15, 8 times 10 is 80 plus another 40.
120.
$120 Canadian plus whatever they would have charged for the Chime Pack. But let's say $130 Canadian, which is $30 less. Now, I'm not paying shipping on that. But what I'm saying is it wasn't 220. Okay. So if I knew that beforehand, well, one, if I had known that, I wouldn't have bought it. And two, if they had done this other method,
so in
it would have cost
future,
a little bit
if
more,
I
but I think it
purchased
would have done it.
anything online, I'm gonna research how they're shipping the product.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I would imagine that some retailers know this already, and they're not telling you that. And that suggests something about the retailer, which is not positive. Others might not realize it, although I find that a little difficult to believe.
Well, I think a lot of places aren't maybe necessarily aware of these extra brokerage fees and things like that people have to pay. They just look at the bottom on their chart as to what's the cheapest way I can ship this.
Yeah, probably. And so maybe that's why UPS, I don't like UPS, but maybe UPS is having this seminar and putting it out there because maybe UPS has been losing business because people are saying, I was just talking on a Zoom meeting this afternoon with my quilting group, and we were talking about this, and every one of them, the Canadians in the group, were all saying the same thing. If it says UPS, I will not order it because of, you know, these extra charges, because you don't know what they're going to be and how much. And so that may be affecting some of the smaller retailers out there as well. So I don't know. But anyways, we thought we would share what we have found out, what Walter found out about this with you. You know, an educated consumer is the best kind of consumer, as they say. Now, of course, this is Canadian-centric, okay, because we're talking about getting it across the border, all right? This does not apply if you're ordering something that's being shipped by UPS within Canada, because you don't have to worry about duty and brokerage fees.
Also, you don't really have to worry about it if you're an American and you're getting UPS shipped through from one U.S. seller to another U.S. address.
Yeah.
So.
Now, one thing about Apple, I was a little worried, but I've ordered stuff from Apple before, and they ship by UPS, and I thought, am I going to get dinged for this? But Walter said, well, no. And no, the other things I've ordered from Apple, I have never, ever. It's exactly what I paid. And that little box is holding something that's $7,000. So, get dinged with brokerage.
Did they make you sign for it?
Yep.
Okay.
I had to sign for it. Yeah. Apple always makes you sign for the package. Well, yeah, you don't want this just laying on the doorstep. And, well, it's here. It's come. Yay! So, now it's going to take me all weekend to get my stuff all hooked up and to go, and hopefully by the time of Stephen and Walter Live, I will be doing it on my Mac. Let's see how that works out. I have a feeling there's a learning curve. I don't have a feeling. I know there's a learning curve with it. Okay, so how's the 1/4 inch business going these days for you? You know the struggle that I have been having, and I have found out that not all 1/4 inch feet are alike. So I thought I would just talk a little bit about this again, but in a little bit more specific. And I have a picture here to show you. Okay, here are my 3 possibilities for doing a accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance. The one to the far left is the one I've been talking about and I've been using since almost day 1 of when I got into quilting. It's the one with the edge guide. So on my M7, my Janome M7, but this is not exclusive to the M7. Most Janome machines will have this foot available. It may or may not come with it. Your machine, you may have to buy it separately. I think it came with my 15,000 and it came with my, I think it came with the Skyline S7, and I think it, and I know for sure.
It comes usually with all of the, all of the premium Janome.
Well, the machines that they claim are quilting machines, kind of a thing. So I have this, and that's what I've been using. And well, you heard me talk about the fact that under this little thing here could be bent Although, as I said before, it is really strong steel. It's not a piece of aluminum. It is a piece of solid steel. So bending it, not saying it couldn't happen, but it could. That would put things out. And what more, though, that I think was happening is, under here, you press your edge of your fabric right next to this. And as you're pushing it through, here's a blind spot in here you can't see. And your fabric, just before it gets under the needle, could be slightly curving up on the edge of this foot. And that would be enough to throw it out. So I have this one. This is the same foot exactly minus the edge guide. You set it up the same way for a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you use the edge, this edge of the foot right here, to line up your fabric, and away you go. So that's what I was using. But the other day, I discovered that my block was still not, it was very, very close, but was still out a little bit, which bothers me now because I want a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance now that I know. So I decided to do an experiment. I decided to put this one on. Now this one is an exclusive to the upper models of the Janome machine. Other machines may have something similar, but this is a 1/4 inch foot, and it sits, you have to have, they call it the HP 1/4 inch foot, high performance, and you need to replace your, what do you call this? Foot plate.
Yeah.
Foot plate with the HP one. And you can see over here, there's a little H. Well, there's an HP on that, so you know which one. This has its holes in a little different place to line up with this. You leave the needle set in the center position, although you can move it over to the right a little bit more in this hole, which would give you, when you line your fabric up along this foot, 1/8 of an inch. But this is where you want it for 1/4 of an inch. So you put your fabric under that, line it up with that edge of the foot, similar to what you would do here, but it makes a difference. But why? Aren't they both doing the same thing? Yes and no. It's the placement of the needle in the needle plate, I think. This is my theory. I have not found this in anything or read about it. This is my theory. That needle there is going into the dead center of your needle plate now. The other one is over. It moves over. It doesn't go dead center. Now, on this particular machine model, the M7, there are 12 feed dogs. That's a lot. And they pull your fabric through. But if your needle is over here, you're not getting the full benefit of all 12 feed dogs in relationship to where the needle is. So it could pull your fabric slightly off. Just skew it a little bit, no matter how well you're lined up with this piece, the edge. Whereas here, it's taking advantage of all the feed dogs, pulling it straight. That's my theory. I could be wrong about that, but here's what I do know. My block, same block, I made a block with this one, I made a block with this one. The block I made with this one was bang on. Bang on. This one was slightly, just ever so slightly. It might have been even less than 1/8 of an inch off, but it was still off. This one was bang on. So this is the one I am using from now on with when I need to do my piecing. So that's what I've discovered, and that's working for me. Again, this is a Janome machine. You may have a Bernina, and it probably works totally different. Or you may have one of the other machines, a Brother or Baby Lock, whatever. But it pays to explore your 1/4 inch seam allowance and the equipment that comes with your machine. And don't take it for granted that just because it's called a 1/4 inch foot, that it is necessarily giving you an exact 1/4 inch foot. That's what I have learned. It only took me 5 years to learn that. Okay, so I share this with you now so it doesn't take you 5 years to learn it. And who the heck is calling us? Probably a ghost call. Be right back. Scam call. Got rid of them. Couldn't speak English either. So, moving on. What was I talking about? Okay, about the feet and everything. So that's what I learned. Now, we've had another question about a very simple device that I've talked about before. It's a clapper. What's a clapper? Well, I've already explained this, but I've had a few people that were still confused as to exactly how these work. And I get it, because this is a piece of wood. That's all it is. This is what it looks like from the top. This is what it looks like from the side.
I don't know if it makes any difference. It's a piece of oak, but I don't know if it makes any difference.
Okay. Well,
I don't think it does. I think it's a piece of wood,
it's a piece of wood, but oak is a hardwood.
Yeah.
Right? So it just makes it probably a little bit more durable.
Yeah.
Than something like a piece of pine or something like that. And a piece of pine would warp when it hits moisture.
Yeah.
Oak probably does not.
Yeah.
So what does this thing do? Well, it's a clapper. And if you have a stubborn seam in quilting, okay, we'll talk about other sewing in a minute with Walter, but if I have a stubborn seam when I'm pressing my seams down, and even when I apply steam to them, they still want to rise up. Well, this little device, as simple as it is, fixes that problem. Because all you do is put your fabric down, press it, then take this clapper,
press it with steam, right?
Press it with steam, and lay this on top of it. You don't have to put pressure on it or anything. Just lay it on top of it and let it sit there for 30 seconds or so. What happens is the wood will absorb to a certain extent that moisture coming up from the piece of from your piecing, and it makes magically your seam lay flat. And that's all there is to it. And that's how you use it. It is the lowest tech piece of equipment you can have in your arsenal of sewing equipment. Now, when it comes to doing garment sewing,
it does the same thing.
You use it the same way.
Yeah. But I tend to press on it because usually a lot of times I'm sewing on a curve or something like that. So sometimes I just need the extra. But yeah, it's again, you have a stubborn seam, it won't lay flat. You put that over top of it, and it makes it lay flat.
I mean, Walter gave me this one because he had a couple of them.
Yeah, I have one that I had this one first, and then I have another one which has something called a point press attached to it, and that's for, you wouldn't need it for quilting because it's the point press is just for pressing collars and the points, and it's easier to do that. So I had basically two clappers. I gave one to Steve. And
I promptly said, thank you very much, threw it in a drawer and forgot all about it. And then on one day, somebody on something I was on was mentioning about using their clapper, and I thought, I'll get it out and give it a try. Wow. I did not think something as simple as this could actually do what I just told you it does. It does. Now, here's an added feature, or another way if you've got stubborn seams, for those of you that are quilters. You'll notice that this is sitting on a wool mat. That's my pressing mat. It's a wool mat. And wool mats will retain, when you steam on a wool mat, they will retain the heat for a while. In fact, they can get very hot to the touch. And that combination of that clapper and that wool mat with steam really helps to let your seams lay flat on it.
Yeah, like I've used some spray products and stuff on my seams, and it won't necessarily get it as flat as a clapper without the spray product. So
yeah, and you can use this with a spray product as well. But believe me, it works. It sits there right next to my iron right now, and I use it every time. If I have a stubborn seam, I just steam it, throw this on top of it, go and press a couple more things when I come back.
It's amazingly simple. Actually, yep. I think it's originally called a tailor's clapper, and a lot of tailors used to use it for their seams and stuff like that.
Now, what does one of these things cost?
They're about $30, I think, something like that. Not particularly cheap. Basically, you're paying for the quality of the wood and the manufacturer of it. I mean, you could probably use a cheap piece of wood somewhere that you get at a lumber shop or whatever. But, I mean, that still costs you too. So
yeah. And I was just looking at the label that happens to be on this one from where it came from. Jackson's Woodworks. Family owned.
Yeah, Jackson that particular Woodworks. One I ordered from Cleaner's Supply or Cleaner's Supply or Wawak, which is a mail order company. It's a U.S. company. And they have clappers on. That's where I ordered mine.
But in quilt stores, they may have them there as well. So they're readily available. They're probably on Amazon as well. So yes, you are going to pay. You're going to say, what? I'm going to pay $30-$40 for a lump of wood.
Yeah.
Why can't I just go out and get a 2x4 and cut it down?
Well,
you probably could.
actually, one nice thing is this thing is sanded. It has indents, so it's easy to pick up. You're not going to get a sliver from them. So they've already been.
They're smoothed down so that there's what Walter's talking about, the groove.
Yeah.
And that makes it a little difference for picking it up.
And the bottom's nice and flat. So
and smooth, so it's not going to catch on your fabric either with that kind of stuff. Now, I know some people have told me that they've used an old iron they just put on there. The one doesn't work anymore. And someone said they had one of those ancient irons they used to use that they used to put on the pot belly stove kind of thing and heat up. And they say that works just as well, too, for that. I think, though, that the ones made from wood, I think there's something to do with the fact that with the steam, some of the moisture goes up into the wood, and that helps. I don't know. I mean, whatever works. But this works for me, and I highly recommend it.
I mean, yeah, you can try something else that's heavy or something like that. That might work just as well for you. I mean, whatever.
I mean, we don't get a commission on these things. So
no, I know. Like, I mean, I was first introduced to the clapper when I first started doing garment sewing, and I thought, wow, I'll buy one of these things, see how it works. And actually, I was quite surprised at how well it worked.
Yeah, I was shocked. The day I used it, I went, oh my God, a eureka moment. Never thought. I just poo-pawed it before, and I thought, yeah, that's one of those things that I'll never need to spend money on. Well, I didn't, because Walter gave it to me. But so it cost me nothing. But I love it. I absolutely love it. Highly recommend it. So, speaking of clappers and that, then moving on. Now, if you saw this week's The Idiot Quilter Presents, and it was a musing one, where I basically talked about my feelings about doing my YouTube channel. I've been doing it for a long time, and it has evolved over the time that I've been doing it. In my content and the method that I deliver the content, and I've added segments, you know, Stephen and Walter Live, The Idiot Quilter, my vlog, and other things. And I just wanted some feedback from people about, are you getting anything out of this? Now, recently I have had, thank you very much, a whole bunch of new subscribers. Suddenly people are finding me after 10 years. I mean, I didn't start out doing The Idiot Quilter 10 years ago. I just started out doing little short videos about my crafting. I wasn't even a quilter at that point in time. But suddenly I've had an explosion of more views on every video and more subscribers, which I really appreciate, because it makes me feel good in the sense that, you know, obviously people are interested in what I have and what we present. But I got a really nice note from one of my subscribers, and I asked her if I could read this to you, and I will. It's very complimentary and flattering, but basically it's giving me feedback about why people seem to enjoy the content that I have on my channel. And so I'm just going to read this for you verbatim. And this is from, her name is Jan, and she says, I was quite happy to settle down at my sewing machine and listen to you chat today. It was interesting when you asked about why or what we thought about watching you. I think back to the first time I viewed you. It was the day you unboxed your 550E. So remembering that time, what I must say, I felt right at home. It was like you had invited me into your basement and I was standing there watching you enjoy your moments of unwrapping your new toy. You are comfortable to listen to. The other important thing to me is that you are Canadian. Why is that important? It's good to hear from other fellow Canadians when they source their sewing trinkets or hear their musings on shops, machines, and notions, etc. The same night that I watched you unboxing your 550E, Walter made an appearance. The both of you chatted on about embroidery, thread, and the stores you purchase your thread and stabilizers from. Good to know info for me. That got me hooked. I recognize it must be difficult for you to sit in front of your PC and have a one-way conversation. Not really. I talk to myself all the time. Somehow you do it, and you manage to keep me interested in whatever you're chatting about. Doesn't seem to matter whatever the topic. I'm quite happy to listen to you. I think part of that is you have quite a variety of topics. You're not afraid to discuss your own sewing mishaps or what's annoying you, and just so many other topics, even showing your vacations. I find you quite amusing, actually. I roar with laughter sometimes. My hubby gets a kick out of me. I find quite often I get so wrapped up in what you are chatting about that I talk to you. You're just like an old friend. My favorites is when you have the sew times. I love them. I think we're talking about craft and chat and my pop-up sew days. I don't say much, but I so appreciate them. I get lots done and it feels like I'm sewing with a bunch of my buddies. I'm not one to go to actual retreats. I have no desire at all for those. I really like how you and Walter compliment each other. I don't compliment you. You never compliment me. No, I know what she means. He sits there facing us during the convos.
Conversations.
Oh, okay, conversation. And you can see his mind just a churning. So funny. You can smell it too as it burns rubber. Both of you are mischievous, and I like that. I'm naughty too. Anyhow, you keep on doing, Stephen. The idiot quilter and Walter being Walter. I love both you guys. I enjoy every minute of your chit-chat and demos, etc. Well done. Hopefully, as word goes out about you two, your channel will get even busier. I really look forward to upcoming shows and next Wednesday. I've been meaning to kind of put this in your head sometime. I would like to see videos on you doing in the hoop embroidery. I have only done one project on my machine, so seeing someone else would be great. Thank you, Stephen, for all you do, and especially facilitating the sewing pop-up, etc. Take care. Kindest thoughts, Jen. Well, Jen, I really appreciated this. This letter today, this email today made my day. It really did. And it reinforced for me that I am doing something that people get value from. And that's really the whole purpose of why I do it. And as I thanked Jen in an email back to her in response to this email she sent, that's what I said. I said, it must be the teacher in me. But everything that I do on YouTube is meant to educate and to help people with their journey through quilting or through other things that I do. I mean, I talk about 3D printing. I talk about products. We talk about things that we've discovered, like today with the UPS situation that Walter researched. And that is really our goal, is to help people out with some information, if we can. Now, some of you have written to me and asked me some very specific questions. And I've said before, if I can answer it, I will. But in some cases, I can't, or you've asked me a question that just can't be handled in a few words. Or is something that's already out there. And I might write back and say, you know, you can Google this, or you can do a search on YouTube for this, because there's plenty out there about it. And maybe some people think I'm putting them off or I'm being rude about that. I'm not.
It could be a question of something we don't really know and something we've never really thought about, and then we'll research it.
Yeah.
And a little bit more. So
for that. But I guess the bottom line, and I don't want this to sound rude or anything about it, but sometimes I don't have the time to do the research for you. You need to do the research on your own and then share with me. Why do I keep getting this? Everybody's telling me I got my laptop now. Thank you very much. I'm aware. I have other things that I want to do and need to do. And if I know it's already out there somewhere, just basically do a Google search first. If you aren't having any luck and you've tried, then sure, let me know and maybe I can help you out with that. But you know, you got to help yourself first. That's how I find out things. And that's how we find out things. We will do the research. And if we think other people need to know about this, we will share the research with you.
Yeah, Google's great for doing research. YouTube is great for doing research. There's all kinds of opportunities. Now, there are videos on YouTube that'll get 5 minutes into and I think, oh, this is a piece of crap. But there are other valuable ones. You might just need to do a little bit of work to find the information out.
I mean, when we were kids in our age group, we didn't have the internet. We had to go to a library. That was work. I always thought having a complete set of the encyclopedias would be like wonderful.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah, but my parents wouldn't spring for those. They were too expensive in those days. And of course, like my father always said, and at the time I just thought it was an excuse, but he was right. They'll be out of date in a few years' time.
Yeah, like
and we've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Thousands, actually, it was thousands of dollars.
They're not current. And now all you do is on YouTube is you look at what date it was published.
Yeah, and you know, you get the most current information. that's there. And plus you get people's opinions about things, which are always very useful as well. So yeah. Now, some people also, well, let's face it, are a bit lazy. And they want a pat answer. They've got a problem, they write to me, and they expect that I'm going to give them a 2-sentence answer and it's going to solve all their problems for them. Wish it was that easy.
Like some people actually will write in and say, do you like this machine better than another machine? Like, do you like Janome better than Bernina? Well, we can't answer that question because we don't own Bernina.
We don't own Bernina.
So we can't very well tell you which one we think is better. And I don't know if it's really our, whether we actually like one company better than another company, whether we necessarily should be telling that to people. Sometimes people need to learn that on their own.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, if you wanted to buy a Janome or a Bernina, you should actually go to a Janome store and try a Janome out, or go to a Bernina store and try a Bernina out, type of thing.
Yeah,
I'm just using that as an example, but I mean, that may be with other things as well. But I mean, we'll try and give you our opinion of something.
But it is our opinion, okay? And you are free to agree or disagree with us, but don't take what we say as absolute gospel truth, for sure.
I mean, you can't come back to us and say, well, you told me to get that, and I don't like it. Well,
we're not giving you back your money.
It's up to you to make that decision, right? So.
We always state this, it is simply our opinions based upon our experience. And if we haven't experienced something, we can't tell you about it. And I have had people actually want me to go out and buy a Bernina machine and compare it to a Janome. Well, I'm sorry. If you want to send me the money for it.
Like, I mean, I think some people are a little bit spoiled with people that have large budgets and they go out and buy all these different products and try them out. Well, we don't have a large budget
it would seem like
to do that. I mean, it may seem that way, but we don't make a lot of money from YouTube. And we
make next to nothing, but
we don't have a budget where we can afford to go out and buy expensive machinery and try them out as a sample.
We're just ordinary people, just like everybody else.
I mean, we're not YouTube stars. Some people seem to think that, but we're just everyday people. We're just producing this show.
Yeah, this is a hobby. What we do here.
Somebody said about how can you look at a computer and do this? I'll have to tell you, I was pretty intimidated the first time I did it.
Yeah. This didn't just happen overnight, what we're doing here. This has been something I've been doing since before I retired, but I really got into making videos when I retired, and that was this June. I've been retired 10 years. And so it's been a progression, and I'm still building on it. I'm still thinking of new things. And one of the things that Jan mentioned in her email, and which is something that I've had several other people write me about, they've asked me to show in the hoop or embroidery projects, to actually do video tutorial style videos about that. And I have always hesitated about that, and I want to explain why. One is the technology that is needed. I have a lot of technology, but it is very difficult to show something that's under a needle clearly. And I am sure you know what I mean. People's hands are in the way, or it's out of focus or whatever. And if I'm going to produce a video like that, what's the point of creating something that is very visibly is crap? I want the best quality I can manage. But again, that takes money to buy the right equipment for that. Plus, I am not a professional in making videos. The other thing is time that it takes to make a video of that nature. A video like this does not take a lot of time. It actually only takes the real time for what we're doing right now. I don't do any real editing, as you know. When you see those screens that come in where I'm showing you something like this, I have a little box that I invested in that allows me to switch screens, and that took me a long time to get one of those and then to figure out how to use it. So it's one of my favorite toys because of that. But that's all being recorded as we do this right now. I don't have to go in and splice it in. Now, sometimes I do. On my vlog, on my Idiot Quilter episodes, I do pre-record certain segments and I splice them in. But that is still a very simple method that I am using. You'll notice I do not have fancy graphics. I don't have things coming across the screen or special sound effects. You can go to some websites where they have all of that, or YouTube channels that have all of that. And yes, they're entertaining. They up the quality of the video, maybe, with it as well. And I say maybe because I'm not so sure. A lot of buzzers and bells, you know, it depends on what you're going to the YouTube channel for. Are you going for pure entertainment, or are you going to learn something? And I think most people are going to YouTube channels to learn something, more or less.
Yeah, plus most of your video content is not scripted, right?
No,
like,
I do not have.
He does off the cuff. The closest thing we have,
I have an outline of what we're going to talk about. That's it.
About what we're talking about. And so if you stumble across a word or something,
and
like
I
that,
do,
it just happens.
Yeah.
Or if we go on too long about something, it just happens.
it just happens. That's the way it is. That's how I do it. And I'm not going to change that. And maybe that's what gives our channel a bit of a unique quality. Like Jan says, she feels like she's having a conversation with us. She feels like it's warm and inviting. And yeah, check that off my list. I would like that. She also said something very strange, because I've never considered this, that I have a very calm and soothing voice. You know, you hear your own voice in your head, and to me it sounds like it's screechy. I don't know. What's my voice sound like?
Actually, it sounds pretty good.
Oh, wow.
I don't
High
think
praise.
I think mine sounds terrible. But
No, yours sounds very good too. You have a deeper voice and, you know, kind of a thing. But okay, but those are all things that really weren't planned. That's just us. Okay? So back to what I was saying about making videos about embroidery. I'm doing one right now. I started it today. I decided I'm going to show how to do a simple in the hoop project and what you go through. See, I assumed that there's tons of videos out there showing it.
I think
already.
a lot of people are kind of intimidated by doing it.
And
like,
they
you
shouldn't
know.
be.
And you just, like, I mean, I have an embroidery machine. I haven't used it for a while, but I have an embroidery machine too. And actually, I didn't really have too much of a problem doing in the hoop stuff. The first one I did, I kind of screwed up.
Well, you're going to do that your first time. I did too.
But that sort of made me learn it a little quicker. So.
And I still screw up. And I'm not afraid to show you my screw ups as well. So I'm working on a video right now showing you how I put together an in the hoop applique table runner. And how this particular one, I picked this particular pattern for a couple of reasons. And I actually explained them at the first of the video. But one of the reasons is this is made in pieces and it's sewn together. And that can be very intimidating, because I remember the first time I saw that in instruction and I was a little lost, but it's not that hard. And so I picked this particular pattern to show that. So that'll be coming out probably sometime this weekend or next week, whenever I get it done. I'm going to be tied up a little bit this weekend as I switch over my PC to the Mac computer. I'm excited about that. And I'm sure there will be swear words coming out of my mouth at that point in time. But you'll hear about it on Stephen and Walter Live, because I'm not abandoning this computer system I have right now. I'm just going to relocate it in this room. So I will still have PCs and a Mac that I will be using for who knows what. But anyways, if this works out, I will do more of that kind of thing. But let it be known that these are things that take more time to do than what we're doing right now. And speaking of right now, we're moving. This is a long video today.
This is a long EM.
So, but maybe you'll go to sleep and it'll lull you to sleep if you can't. Like calm and soothing voice. No wonder my students were all falling asleep during my class. Yeah, okay. So moving on then, and again, thank you, Jan, for that. You gave me a lot of ideas and you said some nice things and you really stroked my ego, our egos, with it. And, you know, it's not beneath me to say that sometimes you like to be stroked. Don't go any further with that. Okay. So what's coming up now? Well, new Mac, talked about it. You'll hear more about it at Stephen and Walter Live on Sunday. I have an interview scheduled later today, and this I am kind of looking forward to this interview, and I'm kind of a little apprehensive about this interview. This interview is with a person in New Zealand, which is exciting. I think this will be the first interview I've done that's that far away. And we've been to New Zealand. Love it, along with Australia. This person is a non-binary person. And I don't want to really, on this interview, it is so tempting to ask about that and to, share some education about a person that is part of the LGBTQ plus spectrum. And it's one that is very misunderstood in our society as well. But I don't want the conversation, it will go to that a little bit, but I don't want it to be the focus, because my focus on these interviews is to interview people who are makers. And this person is a maker. So it'll be very interesting. I think this person may have Aboriginal background, because oftentimes she will write like a salutation or an ending to emails when I've been corresponding with her in a language I do not understand, but I assume it is Aboriginal as well. So that could be interesting to talk about a little bit in there. And of course, I want to focus on what she makes and her background in the sewing quilting world as well, or whatever craft she does, or art that she does. So I also don't want to say the wrong things, because, and I'll be really upfront about it, non-binary people prefer the pronouns they and them. They do not like the pronouns, or do not answer to the pronouns she or he, and that kind of thing. This is a little foreign to me, as I think it is for a lot of people, but that doesn't mean we should not try to be respectful and use that terminology if that's what the individual wishes. So I'm going to try my best, most of the time call them by their name, so I can avoid screwing up on the pronouns. So I am a little nervous about this interview, because I want it to be a good interview. I want it to be a respectful interview. I want it to be an educational interview, but there are so many layers in this one, which makes it somewhat unique from the interviews I've done before. So I'm doing that later today, because I had to put it, they're already into tomorrow in New Zealand. So it's Friday here, it's Saturday there. So we had to find a time where, it works between our time zones. So I'm doing it around 6 o'clock my time, which will be sometime in the mid-morning, I think, tomorrow, their time. So we're doing time travel in this interview as well.
I think they're like 16 hours ahead.
I think it's about 16 hours ahead of us. So anyways, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in the interview as well. As I said, that interview will come out next Tuesday with this individual. So stay tuned for that. It should be interesting. Okay, and what else is happening next week? Craft and Chat. June the 1st is the first Wednesday of the month in June. And so we have Craft and Chat. You've heard me talk about it many times before. We get together for about 3 hours, anybody who's free, and work on whatever we want to work on and have conversation and a good time, and it's always fun. So if you would like to join us, you do not need a special invitation. Just go online, and the link will be in the show notes below. And those of you that are on my mailing list for that have already got your email. I sent it out yesterday, I believe, with the link there as well. And if you want to be on that mailing list, or one of my 3 or all 3 of my mailing lists, my retreats, pop-up sew days, and Craft and Chat, just let me know. Email addresses in the show notes below. All I need is your email address and your name, and I will add you to that, but all are welcome. So, okay, that's it. This is a long one today. I think it's over an hour. So we just rattle on, don't we? But if it's been soothing for you and you caught up on your sleep, then that too, we have achieved a goal. Okay, that's all from us today. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a good, if you're American, have a good long weekend, and if you're somewhere else, Canada or other places beyond, I just hope you have a good weekend, week, life, whatever. So we'll see you next week. Talk to you later. Say goodbye, Walter.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.